Hello guys, in this video we are gonna dive into Java. Now Java is a very popular programming language. It is used to develop mobile app web apps, desktop apps, games and much more. So without any further ado, let's just dive into it. And if you are a beginner, this playlist is for you. If you just want to revise this concept, the whole concept of Java, you can use this playlist. Now let's start with a basic introduction. In programming, those who are new to programming, we usually start every programming language by printing hello world. So we'll do just that. Now in Java, if you have done any other programming language before, there's a particular way to print it. For example, in Python, you just write print parenthesis double quotes and hello world. But in Java, the main line for output is this system.out.println and then hello world. But before that, anything that needs to be executed in Java must be inside this class known as main. Now your class can be called anything, but what's important is that the class name should match with the file name. So for example, our file name is main, so we have to name the class also as main. So the first line is always public class main. This is basically declaring a class. Now, of course, we are going to study about classes in detail. Class is in itself a huge concept, so we'll discuss this later. But for now, you need to know that this is basically the basic syntax. This is how you start writing in Java. Every line of code that runs in Java should be inside a class. Then what is this next line? Public static void main string args. Main method. Now every class has some methods. So when we are going to discuss about classes further, we are going to get into methods too. Methods is nothing but a function that this class is performing. So public static void main, where main is the method, and then string bracket and args. This is again a compulsory line that you have to write. Then these curly braces, these mark the end and beginning of a code. Every class has to have a main method. And what is important to note is that Java is a case sensitive language. So here, if I write my class and if I write my class, these are going to imply two different things. Now, system.out.println. System is basically a built-in Java class which has many useful information in it, like output. So we use system is the class here, out is the thing that we are doing, that is printing the output, and println, this is for printing whatever is going to be in the bracket. Each code statement ends with semicolon, as we can see, semicolon. Now let's understand output print or print. So println, as we saw earlier, is used to display output or print. You can also write system.out.print and then hello. This will also print the code. Now what's the difference between writing println and writing print? If I write print, it's gonna execute the code in same line. Now if it's one line only, it won't make a difference, but if I like system.out.print and system.out.print and then hello in quotes, and then system.out.print and then Lauren in quotes, so this will give me hello Lauren like this. Now instead of print, if I write println for both, it's gonna give me hello Lauren. So two different lines, whereas if I write print, it's gonna be in the same line. Now for a string data type, now what is a string data type, we are going to discuss later. For now, let's just say if I want to print any text as it is, then I have to use double quotes. If I don't put double quotes, if I just write print hello, this is going to give me an error. Now if I'm printing numbers, for example, if I want to print number, any number 1, it's not going to give me any error. If I don't put double quotes, it's going to print it, see it as an int value. And what is int, what is string, we are going to discuss right after this actually. But for now, we need to know that if I'm writing any text, if I want to print it as it is, then I have to use double quotes. I can write numbers also in double quotes. It's gonna print it as it is. So if I write print 1, it's gonna give me the output 1. Now what's the difference? If I write print 1 plus 2 and if I write print 1 plus 2, this first code will give me 3 while the other one will give me 1 plus 2. So for quotes, we'll get the output as it is, and if I don't put quotes, then the computer is gonna see these as two numbers and perform the arithmetic operation. So if I write 1 plus 2, the computer is seeing it as two different numbers and performing the operation. But if I write in quotes 1 plus 2, then my computer is seeing this as a text and it's gonna print it as it is. So yeah. Now next is comments. What are comments? Sometimes I want to write something in the code that I don't want to be executed, but I want it to be there to make the code more readable. So for example, in future, if someone else is reading my code or if I'm reading my code again, I can easily understand or identify what the whole code is about. So for that, I can use comments. Comments will never get executed. And you can write anything in a comment. There's no syntax, nothing. Comment is basically just a text you are writing in code to just explain your code. And as I told you, it won't be executed. So how do we write comments? Now, if in the code, like for example, in this line, if I write here output hello world, this will be a comment. Anything written after 2 slashes is a comment. 2 slashes, it's a comment. Now this is actually a single line comment. This is how I can write it in a single line. If I want to write multiple line comments, I can simply use this, the slash, then asterisk, then write my comments, and then at the end again asterisk, then slash. So this is just the basic, very basic syntax to write comments and nothing else. Now we are gonna discuss variables. Now, before variables, let's take a quick look at data types. We are going to discuss data types in detail, but for now, to understand variables, let's just first understand data types in a simple way. So let's just start. So there's one data type which is known as string, int. We have already discussed about these two. Then there's float, char, and boolean. You can pronounce this as char or car, however you like it, but yeah, let's just start. String. Now string is used to store text. As we discussed, we have to use double quotes for this. Int is used to store integers. These are without decimals, no decimals in this. For decimals, we use float. Then for storing characters like a or b, we use the char keyword, and then boolean stores values like true or false. This is a very brief explanation about data types. There's a lot more to data types which we are going to study later in these videos. Now, create variables. How do we create variables exactly? There are two main essential requirements to create any variable. We have to specify the type of variable we are creating. For example, string, int, float, char, boolean, what. And then we have to assign a value. Now, if I have written, for example, if I have written string car is equal to Volvo, then I have to assign a string value only. If I can't write string car is equal to 1, this will be wrong. This is wrong. So moving on, this is how we define a variable. Type, variable name, and then value. Type, one of the Java's type we just discussed, and then variable name, name of the variable. Now you can give your variable any name, for example x, y, z, or you can write, if you are an integer value, if you are storing an integer value, you can write my num, and then equal to sign, which is used to assign the values, and then value, whatever value. Now what exactly are variables? Variables are basically different types of containers used to store values. For example, this container is x, this is y, this is z, and I want to store value 1 in x, 2 in y, and 3 in z. So this is what variables are. Variables are nothing but containers we use to store values. For example, in our house also, we use different types of containers to store our everyday objects. So similarly, in Java or in any programming language for that matter, we have variables which store different types of values. Now, assigning value, and yeah, so This is how variable works. This is how we can use a variable. Before moving further, let's just discuss the variable name once. Now you can give your variable whatever name you like, but there's a special type of case that we use, like uppercase, lowercase. For example, if you notice here, my V is small and N is capital. Why so? Now what we actually this is basically a habit of a good programmer, that you can name your variable. Like for example, if I have to name variable name only, so I'll write everything in lowercase except the first letter of the second word and the following word. For example, if I have to write variable name number, so I can write variable name number. So every following word will have capital letter, but the entire case will be in lowercase. The entire word will be in lowercase, and there are no spaces in variables names. There are a few other rules also which we are going to discuss in further. This is not a compulsory rule, this is just something you should follow as a good programmer. So variable, then name, and then if I write anything else, it will start with a capital letter, but it can then continue in lowercase. Now for example, if I write if you see the example of declaring a variable string, which is the type, then name, which is our variable name, and then Lauren, which is just the value assigned to it. Since it's a string value, we have used double quotes. System.out.println and then name. This will give me the output Lauren. Now you can declare a variable without assigning the value and simply assigning the value later. For example, int mynum, and then mynum is equal to 15. Note that we have not used double quotes here because this is a int value. So I can simply declare my variable like this, int and then mynum. So int, or just num also, int num, and then num is equal to 15. I can assign it right after or later in the code also as per my need. So this is how you don't necessarily need to give the variable a value right away. It's like you buy containers first and then give it a value. So you don't necessarily need to give a value to a variable right away. And this is how we done. And then if I print mynum, it will give me the value 15. Now if you assign a new value to an existing variable, what will happen? For example, int mynum is equal to 15. Then I write mynum is equal to 20. This will give me the output 20. This new value will override the existing value. Now what if I don't want that? What if I want that int mynum is equal to 15 and no one, even I, can further change this value? So if you want to avoid overwriting existing values, use final keyword. We use the final keyword, final int mynum is equal to 15. Now if I write mynum is equal to 20, it will show an error. The final means this is like the final. No one can overwrite it, no one can change it. So everything else remains the same, we just add the final keyword in the beginning. How to declare other type of, we studied about 5 data types. Now we have seen how to declare a string, we have seen how to declare an int. What about the remaining? For float, we just write float, my float num, and then at the end of the value we write f. This is important to note, don't forget this. So for example, if my float value is 6.9, then I have to write 6.9 f. So char my letter is equal to d, simple. Now for character values, we use single quotes. For string we use double quotes, for character we use single quotes, and rest all we write directly. For f float, however, we have to write f at the end. And then boolean, my bool is equal to true or false, whatever you want to prefer. Boolean can only have 2 values, that is true and false, as we discussed earlier. Now display variables. How do I display my variables? Simply we can use the println statement as we saw earlier. If you want to combine text or variable, for example, I want to print my name is, and whatever the value is in name keyword, right? How to do that? So for example, first of all I have to declare string, just a second, yeah, string name is equal to Lauren, and then I have to print system.out.println hello plus name. The output for this will be hello Lauren. or I can, instead of hello, I can write whatever I want. I can write my name is in double quotes, and then it will give me my name is Lauren. So this is how we can combine text and variable. As you can see, an example is given here. Now if I want to print someone's full name, I don't want to combine text or variable, but just add the value of two variables. String first name is equal to Lauren, string last name is equal to Doe, string full name is equal to first name plus last name, and it will give us the output as Lauren Doe. So moving on. Now int x is equal to 5, int y is equal to 6, system.out.println x plus y. This will give me the output 11. For string, as you have noticed, I use double quotes. For integers, int, first of all, these are int. Now if I write here string x is equal to 5, string y is equal to 6, and then system.out.print x plus y, what do you think the value will be? 11 or 5 plus 6? Comment down below. Pause if you need to, but give me the answer. So the answer will be 5 plus 6, because it is a string value. The computer is gonna see it as a text and nothing else, and therefore it will print it as it is. So 5 plus 6. Now if we want to declare multiple variables, we can simply write int x is equal to 5, y is equal to 6, system.out.print x plus y. Here, instead of writing int x is equal to 5, int y is equal to 6, like this I wrote earlier, I can simply write it int x is equal to 5, y is equal to 6. Now system.out.print x plus y will give me 11. We can also assign same value to multiple variables. For example, if I declare 3 variables, int x, y, z, I can assign them same value. And then if I print system.out, it will give me 150, x plus y plus z. Or if I just print int x, println, and then x, it will give me 50, and then y, it will also give me 50, because all these have been assigned the same value. So this is pretty much all the information about variables. Now before going into the further topics, here are some 4 homework questions that you must do. In the next video, we are gonna ourselves try to execute this in a compiler. You can use an online compiler, or you can use VS Code. VS Code, those who are new to coding, VS Code is basically Visual Studio Code. It's an application which is very popular among programmers. If you don't want to use an application, I prefer an online compiler known as Replit. You can use that. Well, that's probably it. And these are the 4 questions you need to do. We are gonna run it, execute the code next time, and that will give us a practice of execution as well. So this was mainly the theory part. The third question in this is kind of theory. The different data types we have discussed till now. We are going to discuss more data types this in detail in the next, but till now what we have done, you should remember that. The remaining 3 are code. So those who have experience in coding can code it, and those who don't, they can wait for the next video where we are gonna code it together. So, and that's how the pattern of these series is gonna be. First we are gonna do the theory part, we are gonna understand the concepts, and for the next video we are gonna execute it to try it ourselves. Thank you for watching. See you next time. Bye.